Hello there. We're back again. This time with I think this book is going to be my favorite read for the entire year. It hasn't been surpassed yet. I read it in May, and it might be my favorite book in a very long time. So, without further ado, The Forgotten Beasts of Eld by Patricia McKillip. Just amazing book. I'm gonna wax poetic about this. I need to read this again this year. This was Patricia McKillip. Unfortunately passed away in 2022. But this book was written in 1974 and won McKillip the first World Fantasy Award that was ever given. And she's written other fantasy. She wrote other fantasy since then, and I am very eager to read more of Patricia's stuff, having been introduced to her world from this book here, and very excited to tell you about what I felt about this book. This is the 50th anniversary edition from 2024, which unfortunately Patricia wasn't around for, but I love this cover, and there's pretty illustrations in here, like I haven't gotten to look at yet, because actually I bought this book. This copy I bought after I read it because I loved it so much I had to have a copy and I want to read it again. Originally I read this on Libby. That's how we start collecting books here. We fall in love. How do I even tell you what this book is about? The Forgotten Beasts of Eld is about a woman named Sybil who lives on a mountain alone. She lives far away from civilization, pretty much, and she has a power to call beasts to her, and they're like fantastical beasts of legend, the Fantastic Beasts of Eld, and she's able to call them to her, and she keeps them in like you would call them like Sybil's menagerie, I guess. It's a sanctuary for these beasts that were once vicious and scary and legendary to the people of Eld. And it's kind of like it's kind of like a retirement home for the legendary beasts, is what Sybil's doing up on this mountain. And they get to just live their lives and not have to cater to any humans anymore, be used by humans in their wars and their petty squabbles, things like that. So Sybil lives up there alone, and she enjoys it there. She also does not want to be involved with man. Who does? Anyway, at some point, someone drops off a baby at her door. And this baby is like the heir to a kingdom below. And this kingdom was fighting with another group of men over the territory, over ideals, things like that. The usual stupidity, and the baby was brought there to keep him safe and to keep him away from the kingdom as the heir. So they basically the other group basically stole the prince away, and Sybil raises him. She's not the most motherly person. She kind of raises him like she takes care of her beasts, but she does love Tam in her own way, and allows him to run off with the beasts, run off with the other children that live on the mountainside, and he just has a very full life growing up. But it's not very long. It's like a decade, but it wasn't as long as Sybil would have liked before the men are coming and knocking on her door again. The king finds out about this son. He takes him back, and Tam, Sybil sends her bird with him to keep him safe. And she still Tam, as much as he wants her to, he couldn't convince Sybil to come with him because he really wanted her to be there with him as he is being brought into the world of men and having to take a leadership role basically as a prince suddenly. And his whole world is changing. But she's not going to come. Eventually she does get drawn in by one of the men in the family that is fighting with the king, and this is Corin. And Corin is the youngest son, I think, in his family, and he knows what it's like to be the odd one out. He's always been a dreamer, but He's very protective of Sybil's autonomy, is I guess the best way to put it, and her right to choose. So even when he convinces her to come live with him and his family, he is very protective of Sybil and not letting her get drawn into his family's machinations. And Sybil gets brought in to the war between the different groups of men, and she is ready to fight at one point because she had a very horrific experience with the wizard of the kingdom of Eld, and he, like I said, with Corin protecting her autonomy, is immediately after a situation where her autonomy was almost taken from her. Her freedom was almost taken from her by this wizard that tried to completely take over her body. He tried to completely control her in the same way that Sybil controls her beasts, except Sybil does it out of protection for them and keeps them close in the area that's safe. And it's kind of juxtaposing that keeping these beasts safe versus this wizard that is going to keep Sybil as an almost weapon for himself, under his control. But she was able to get away, and it was very much like an assault scene, so it can be disturbing, but it was more an assault on her mind. But it was written very much in a way that it was an assault on her body as well. So just warning there. It's a little darker in that section, but that is what kind of gives Sybil the anger, the fire to want to fight against the kingdom and bring out her beasts. And her beasts are totally willing to fight for her. They're like, you've protected us all this time. We're going to protect you now. We're going to protect Tam. Whatever you need us to do, we'll do it for you. And Sybil was very much on the brink of doing this. There's a moment where she has to make this decision of whether she wants to be so completely pulled into the war and become herself a legend because of the damage that she's about to inflict on mankind with her beasts. The other overarching thing throughout the story is that she's been looking for this incredibly hard to find beast called the Lyrillin, and it's like her, what do you call it? It's like, the Lyrillin's like her Roman Empire, and it's the thing that she wants to find the most, and the beast that she wants to tame the most, but she cannot get it. She's been calling it for years, and it has not come to her with her powers, and she just hasn't figured out how to do it yet. But at one point, instead, she gets a different beast that is totally the opposite of the Lyrillin. The Lyrillin is like majestic and angelic, I guess. And then this other beast that she brings to herself is not. It's dark, and it brings death, and that comes up in its place. And by the end of the story, we see which one she's going to end up getting once she makes her decision about whether she is going to be one of these legendary beasts as well and be known. Here's Tam and some of the beasts. Like, there's really pretty illustrations throughout this book, and I'm so excited to read this version because these illustrations were not in like Corin and Sybil on the Lyrillin. Like, it's so cool. So I really want to read this again and do a better deep dive of this for a YouTube video and really go through a lot of the metaphors, because that is one thing at the beginning. I'll talk about how the prose and stuff was now, because I don't want to give too much away about the story, even though I told you a lot of it. The beginning was a little hard for me to get into, actually, because the author uses so many similes and metaphors, so many. But it's very lyrical, it's very poetic, and I got used to it after a while. And it kind of drops off later, too. It becomes less oppressive, I guess. And it's just such beautiful writing, and everything had a point. every detail she gave had a point, and it was not as poetic as it was not overly descriptive to the point of boredom where it's flowery language and everything. It just, I was blown away as I was reading this book. After I got past the first couple chapters with the similes and metaphors, I just loved it so much. And this book made me cry, okay? Because Sybil has a moment where Corin is yelling at her and being like, I can help you. You don't have to do everything for yourself. And I just felt a lot of what Sybil was going through, because I do that a lot myself, where I don't even really remember to ask anybody to help. So having that moment where Corin actually yells at her for it, and it just made me cry so much. If a book makes me cry, it's 5 stars. That's how it goes. But anyway, at some point I really want to read this again and do a better, like, analysis, I guess, of this story and Patricia's writing. And I definitely want to read some more of her books this year, and further into other years as well. Also, fascinatingly enough, I just got Fishbone Cinderella in the mail by Elizabeth Lim yesterday, and I started it today. And the very first page, let me see. It was not the first page, but it was in the first chapter. She mentions the Forgotten Beasts of Eld. It's right there, and I just read it, so that was amusing. Had a little moment that I knew what that was, and I had read that book. So anyway, I highly recommend this book, especially if you're looking for older fantasy, and if you want to read something that had won the very first World Fantasy Award. This is it. It's not about battles and wars, although there are battles being prepared and men fighting. It's about human relationships and humanity. And I just enjoyed it a lot. So I highly recommend this book, like, a lot, 1,000 times. Read it. Just read it, please. Okay. Next time, I don't even know what I'm going to do for next time. I still have some books I need to catch up on since I was out. I was not online for a few months with dealing with other things. But anyway, I will be posting soon with my next one. Bye!